What's going on, Buffalo Bills fans? The president of Built in Buffalo, Lance Nelson here. To my left, Scott Kasson, and to my right, subbing in for an ill Benjamin Shoop is Tasker Brown. Gentlemen, how we doing tonight? The Bills are 2-0, and before we get too far into it, I will just mention we are brought to you by Monster Energy Drink, the official energy partner of Built in Buffalo, and Buffalo Belia Sports and More. Join the Facebook group Buffalo Belia Sports and More. They make some sick helmets. You can see one over my shoulder here, made especially for us. And there's some great James Cook memorabilia going on, as he is the Buffalo Belia Player of the Week for Built in Buffalo here. Guys, Scott, I'll start with you, man. What are your initial quick thoughts here? Just overall, how you feeling this week? We get a little recap show, which we're used to previewing, so going to be a fun one. But how you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling great. Since the last time we all hung out, the Bills have won not one, but two regular season football games. Literally could not have asked for a better start to the season. The Bills looked really good last night, beat the Dolphins. A little shaky at times against the Cardinals, but a win is a win. 1-0 is 1-0, and you can't go 2-0 without going 1-0. So feeling great. Bills are looking good. We get to talk about it all tonight. It'd be cool to do a little bit of a recap instead of a preview. So excited to talk about all the good stuff we've been seeing.
Tasker, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, 2-0 start is couldn't ask for better. Like Scott said, went out and got a win against the Cardinals, came right back, beat a probably better team in Miami soundly. So proved that we can win some football games.
Yeah, and we're not going to spend too much time on the Arizona Cardinals game because it's happened and we've already played another game since. But I definitely want to just mention, definitely looked like the Bills needed to get their legs underneath them and they needed to get that rolling. They were able to kind of escape a close game as they did get down early and were able to come back and come away with a victory. And I think that just helped, like I say, get their legs underneath them. And even though there were some casualties there and a injury for Teron Johnson. Obviously, Matt Milano injured previous to that. And now in this game, we have Terrell Bernard going down, which we're going to get to. So people are stepping up. I want to talk about a little bit the depth of this team versus the depth of some other teams in previous years versus the perception. And I want to tell you right now, Sean McDermott's a damn good football coach. And if you don't believe it after yesterday, I don't know what else to tell you, because that was exactly the capability of the head coach, Sean McDermott. And we need to see it in the playoffs. But what a great win and a great game. So, Scott, let's start out. I don't know if we took the quick reactions right there from the 2-0 start right away, but what do we got going on next?
Yeah, so we kind of all touched on it. Obviously, 2-0, awesome start for the Bills. I think everybody's really excited. You mentioned the injuries. That really sucks. But, next man up. And at least it doesn't sound like any of the injuries they were facing are going to be season ending. We should get a lot of guys back, which, hey, could be kind of a blessing in disguise with a lot of fresh legs come stretch time. Like you said, we'll get to it later. So want to talk about some things that excite you, from this 2-0 start, and then maybe a couple things you're worried about. I know the injuries everybody is, so maybe pick something different, be original. But each of you, we can start with you, Tasker. Like, what's something you're excited about that we've seen so far, and then something that you want them to sharpen up because they're going into one of the first gauntlets on this schedule starting next week on Monday night.
Yeah, what excites me is definitely the depth of this team. I mean, look at what Jamarcus Ingram did last night. 2 interceptions, pick 6. Lockdown and coverage. I don't think anybody expected that. Obviously, he's a good football player, but I don't think anybody expected 2 picks, pick 6 against Tua Thursday Night Football. I mean, people coming. Balin Spector came in, did a great job. Obviously, we said we'll talk about that more later, but that just the depth of this team excites me. I think we need to get the wide receivers more involved. I mean, they only had 6 catches yesterday, but we didn't need them. So, we won without them, but I would like to see them get the chemistry involved with Curtis Samuel, Matt Collins, Keon Coleman. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about James Cook, obviously having a monster game. We talked about it last Friday before going into the season, and I posted my 1-minute segment this afternoon here to promote this show. And I talked about how I thought Bills Mafia was sleeping on James Cook a little bit. I thought he has that home run ability. I've been talking about that 40 to 60 yard touchdown threat, and he just nailed it this week with that 49-yard touchdown run. So exciting to see him kind of get his feet underneath him as well. Um, Excited about the depth of the team, like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, because it seems like they didn't miss a beat, and they're containing Hill and Waddle and Achan, and like this is a good Dolphins offense. And I know that Tua didn't have his best game before going out there with an injury, but as well, it's like give the Bills credit there. They kind of confused him, and they put him in those situations um, to fail, so to speak, and made those plays. So that was good on the Bills defense guys being opportunistic, and I'm excited, and I'm pretty encouraged about that part of it. And then Von Miller excites me still, still being Von Miller, it seems, or being showing signs that he's able to get to a place where we can rely on him from time to time now in situations that we're going to need him. So those are all things that excite me. Honestly, it's hard to really pick something that worries me. If you can give me a topic and I'll tell you why I'm not worried about it, that we can do that. But otherwise, I don't really have much to say about being worried about much for this team just yet. It's encouraged, 2-0 start. I had it pegged as a 1-1 start, and especially if you would have told me that Milano Bernard and Teron Johnson were down, I never would have really thought that this team could have played as well as they did. So I'm very encouraged.
Yeah, I also had us pegged at 1-1. We do our weekly game projections or predictions. And I actually put that I thought the Dolphins were going to win. But when our guy Matt made the graphic, he flipped it and said that I said the Bills are going to win. So I haven't corrected him, but because they ended up going on and winning. But yeah, I was definitely nervous going into last night's game. But something that really excites me, I think, is the resiliency that we've seen with this team, even though it's only 2 games. But week 1, they're down 17-3. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Kyler Murray is doing whatever he wants, marching right down the field. The secondary looked completely lost. And then to come out in the second half, they got the double dip to tie it up, which was huge. Second half, it looked like a completely different defense. They got stops. I think the Cardinals got 80 yards in the second half. And the only way that they scored was on that kick return. So completely different defense. Then that carried over into this week, getting a pick on the first drive. And the secondary, I think, was a big question mark for a lot of people. 2 new safeties. Didn't really know who they were going to be other than Taylor Rapp. We got DeMar Hamlin. Who knows what he has left? The guy's gone through a lot, but he's playing well. We know Benford and Rasul Douglas are good corners, but, Taron Johnson gets hurt. Cam Lewis comes in. We might as well get the entire UB secondary out there. We got Cam Lewis. We got Jamarcus Ingram. Both of them making big plays. So really excited about the resiliency. And, it's hard to say a team's been through a lot of adversity given that it's week 2, and it's not even really week 2. We played 1 game into week 2. But the amount of injuries, the guys who've stepped up, the guys whose numbers were called and they went out there and made plays was awesome. One thing that does worry me a little bit, and it got better as both games went on, but just the interior of the D-line. Ed Oliver had a big sack last night, but Tua kind of stepped up into that. Like if Tua was a little bit more mobile than he is, probably not getting sacked there. And then DaQuan Jones has been kind of quiet. I know he's more of a block eater than anything else. And then when the second unit in the interior D line is in, teams are just running right down their throats. So want to see that get tightened up a little bit. And I'm sure, the linebackers being out doesn't help with that. Because they get through the first level. Don't have our normal guys there making stops. But yeah, I'm sure it's something that'll get better as it goes on. That's what we said about this defense. It's going to get better as the season goes on with all the guys in new places, figuring it all out. But next thing want to get into, we talked about it a little bit, but just Tua's injury, that sucked. He's a guy who's dealt with concussions over the years. Obviously had the one against the Bills a couple years ago, had a couple really bad ones that same 2022 season. Just, prayers for Tua, him and his family, hope that he's okay. Obviously, you don't really want to talk about football and his next move, but you got to put it out there. Like, does he ever suit up and play again? Like, Lance, what do you think?
I sort of hope not for his own well-being, and I was going back and looking at some of the film trying to figure out if he maybe took a hit early on in the game that might have resulted in, um, him being a little bit out of sorts before that main hit with Damar Hamlin that took him out. Um, and I can't pinpoint anything from my point of view, but maybe there was something where, something was a little bit loose up there before that play. And it seemed like he was off all night from the get go. And I'm not sure if it was just nerves being rattled. I know if he did take a hit early on, he may have, may have been kind of out of sorts, like I said, prior to that. But I don't know that he takes another snap in the NFL. And if he's able to and he's healthy enough, then by all means. But I just don't know for his sake. Looks like we only had 2 sacks, and it looks like he did land on the back of his head, but that was in the second quarter, and he had thrown an interception and things before then. So, I don't. It was already 17-7 at that point, and I don't think that's necessarily anything to note. Um, I guess short answer long is like I hope for his own, personal well-being as a human being that, he just does what's best for him there.
Tasker?
Yeah, I mean, I hope he doesn't. I don't think he should for his own well-being. Obviously, I could see him coming back. He's a resilient guy. He's been resilient his whole career. But at the same time, he's had those other 2 scary concussions. This one yesterday. I mean, 3 total. I could see him coming back with his resiliency, wanting to come back and prove he can still play football. But I mean, all of them they're not just normal concussions. They're all scary. They're all gets up, he's wobbly. He's down for a while. I mean, you saw Antonio Pierce, the head coach of the Raiders. He said the same thing. He said, hang him up. It's not worth it. Family comes first. I mean, he doesn't need to risk getting a 4th one, because then what's going to happen after the 4th one? So I don't think he should. I think he should hang it up.
Yeah, and I thought what Mike McDaniel said about it was really good. Like, he's got to be the quarterback of his family first. And, like, they're not even going to talk about him, like, getting back, not putting a timeline on it. So awesome that he has the support of his coach and I'm sure his team and everybody behind him, because the last thing you want to do is rush him back out there. It sucked. Like, for me anyway, I got told no when I put it in our group chat, but it kind of took some of the fun out of the win. Like, you don't want anybody to get hurt like that, especially
Right.
Tua, who is a good player and obviously never met the guy, but from all accounts is a good guy off the field. He's just dealt with so many injuries, like the hip at Alabama, and now 4th concussion, and just you want good players to play. So it just it just sucks.
Yeah.
Like, that's really the only way to put it. Guys, got anything else on anything before we move it along to, I think, my 1 minute?
Yeah, go ahead, brother. We'll jump it over to you.
Cool. So I want to talk a little bit about the Bills' offense. There was a lot of questions coming into this season. No Stephon Diggs, no Gabe Davis. A lot of the national media was telling you that the Bills weren't going to be any good, but they have Josh Allen, so I think we all knew that they would be just fine, which is what they're showing. But I think this offense is just scratching the surface of what they can and what they're going to do. If you look at the last 2 games, Dalton Kincaid's getting triple teamed by the Cardinals. He didn't really get a whole lot of action last night, and even he got banged up. Dawson Knox only has 1 catch so far this season. Didn't really get that many targets last night. Like, the tight ends haven't gotten involved much at all. I think that's only going to go up. And then as far as the receivers, Curtis Samuel, I think he's still coming back from that toe injury. He's only played about 30% of the snaps in the first 2 games, and he's a very dynamic playmaker that, as he gets stronger, gets more comfortable with Josh, only going to take this offense to the next level. James Cook has looked very good. He's been everything that he was advertised to be this season, and probably more. Keon Coleman only going to keep getting better, and watch out for MBS. I know he's been an interesting subject, but he was wide open on a post in that game against the Cardinals, and Josh just missed him. He's that speedster down the field with good experience that this team hasn't had in the last few seasons. So once him and Josh get a little more chemistry, that's going to be just big plays waiting to happen. So the offense has looked really good through the first 2 weeks, but I think that they're only going to get better as the season goes on, as they gel together. So I think this team is just scratching the surface.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, you don't have a ton um, of real like I don't know. There's not a lot of tape out there yet on what they're going to do. So was it 18 of 23 week one? You didn't see a whole lot. You saw him spreading the ball around to guys, um, and 9 different receivers there, right? So and then you have this game, only 19 attempts overall. Just they didn't need to obviously throw the ball with the way they were dominating. So it's exciting on one end to see that the offense can win that way with Allen being less of a part of it and the run game being more. But Allen was a heavy part of the run game in week one, whereas you saw him go back into that more conservative. Obviously, with the hand injury, he's going to be more conservative, and you kind of saw him go back into that conservative, hold the ball, scramble around behind the line of scrimmage, and try to find someone. Whereas week one, he was go and let's get this, get this ball moving forward. So I guess to just take it back to any sort of worry that we were talking about in the previous segment is like, I guess if that happens, how does this offense adapt to him holding the ball behind the line of scrimmage and being a little bit more hesitant to move forward and take off and run?
Yeah, you say that about the tight ends, and I think it's funny because I actually was excited. First drive of the game, I think we threw 2 screens at Kincaid. So first drive of the game, I was like, "Oh yeah, they're getting Kincaid involved. He's gonna get 9 catches, 100 something yards, and 2 touchdowns." I was fully expecting him to go off. Ended the game with I think 4 catches, 40 some yards. Um, Obviously, still not a bad stat line, but I really thought they were going to start feeding the tight ends, and they didn't. I don't think they had to. I think they will. They will start feeding Kincaid and Knox. Lance says the thing about um, not really needing to use Allen. He had 19 attempts. I think it's. I think the most important part of the game is we proved we can win without Allen in a way. I mean, not obviously we used Allen, but James Cook. I mean, he carried the whole entire game, if you ask me. Um, so I just think that was my big takeaway of the game. James Cook just, I mean, he looked like he was unstoppable.
Yeah, I think my feeling on that is like maybe last year when Allen was more hesitant, teams started to just not treat him like Josh Allen. And if you don't play, if Josh Allen's not using his legs, not breaking that big play on you, and you stop playing him to do that and you don't worry about it anymore, that makes the offense a lot easier to defend. The whole reason that the offense becomes more difficult to defend is because you have that element in Josh Allen's legs. So if you remove that now, if people see he's more hesitant, that does pose a little bit of concern as I think through it now, more so than when we were in the segment that I should have mentioned that in. But yeah, I just, Scott, just a little rebuttal on what our thoughts are there, and what do you think, especially about what we're seeing from Josh, and obviously he's got to be smart early on in the season, and take care of himself so he's there later.
Yeah, his one run that he did have, he slid, which
Mhm.
was nice, and then it led to one of the best pieces of trash talk, if you want to call it. If anybody saw that video, go check it out. It was very funny. Just roasted this guy.
Where he looked on the back of
y-
his jersey and saw what his
yeah, he's
name
like, I don't
was.
even know
Yeah,
who you are.
amazing.
Yeah, that one made me smile. So as Josh generally does, but yeah, it's kind of been a good continuation of what we saw last year with Joe Brady. We'll get into it more when we talk about the offense, but Josh being asked to be Superman less. It's tough to say that after the Cardinals game because there's a picture going around of him quite literally looking like Superman jumping over Buda Baker. But like they ran the ball, the defense played well. They played complementary football, as Sean McDermott likes to say. And all Josh really had to do was take care of the football. The the one like Josh Allen throw he made to Ty Johnson like kind of helped open the game up early. But other than that, it was just be smart, hit your guys who were open, good play calling, and dominate on the line of scrimmage. But yeah, I'm really excited for this offense. I think a lot of people are more excited than they necessarily thought they would have been coming into the season. So awesome to see that through 2 weeks. But we're going to start our breakdown with the defense from yesterday.
Yeah, we got a nice
Tyreek
comment
Hill.
here from TJ. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to jump on this first because it leads right into it a little bit. What did you think about Bobby Babich and you know, what do you think about the job he's done through the first 2 weeks there, heading up the defense and play calling?
The first, a lot of people I don't think loved him at the end of the first half against the Cardinals, but they definitely shored up yesterday and then as well the second half on Thursday. So yeah, like I don't think we could have asked for much better than what we've seen. He's definitely been aggressive, which is something that was one of his calling cards. People thought he would be aggressive, and then the Bills just always seem to have the Dolphins number. Like they throw off the timing, they press, they play physical, they pressure Tua, they get him off his spot, they make him uncomfortable. So I thought they did a really good job yesterday of just throwing off that offense, which is so timing based. So yeah, really happy with what I see from Bobby Babich, and I hope that McDermott keeps letting him, kind of run the show because that's only going to help him grow as the season goes on.
Yeah, I thought that Babbage, in week one, it was more the players and he maybe Babbage himself too, just getting, in the flow of a game for the first time, a regular season game that counts. I chalked it up more to like, hey, it's week one. These guys are getting their legs under them on the field, the players themselves. And then, obviously Babbage is feeling it out to feel like how he wants to run through a game for the first time. So anytime a coach is in a situation for the first time, I feel like you do have to give a little bit of grace there, and you obviously hope for the best. But I think it was a perfect combination in the first half against the Cardinals between the players finding it within Bobby's, it's really McDermott's system still, I believe, but within Bobby's callings, and then also Babbage finding his knack for the way he wanted to deploy that unit.
Yeah, I think yeah, I wasn't really worried after first half of the Cardinals game. Like you said, Lance, they needed to get their feet under them. They needed to get used to them, or used to the plays, used to just playing in a real game that counts, like you said. And then they came out in the second half, and I mean they were shut down. I mean, obviously the touchdown was on special teams. That's not even their fault. So, and then they come out yesterday, and like Scott said, I mean they made Tua look uncomfortable. I don't think there was a single snap that I really recall where Tua looked like he was comfortable back there. Like he almost looked like he knew he was going to get hit. He didn't have anyone open. He didn't. I mean, that's what you want. You want the quarterback to look uncomfortable, and then like Scott said, they're a very timing based offense. I mean, I think it was maybe their second drive of the game where they launched it up to Tua. Normally, they're catching that. I mean, Tua's outrunning the defender. Christian Benford ran with him step for step. Double coverage with Rap. Rap had the inside. Yeah. I mean, Babbage is doing a great job.
Yeah, I saw a tweet by my guy Yards Per Pass when he follows him. It's a kind of a basketball reference, but upstate New York people I think will get it. He said that Miami's the offense is kind of like the Syracuse 2-3 zone with Boeheim. When you don't see it very often, like you get in the tournament, Syracuse goes in those runs, like it's really hard to figure out. But when you play against it 2 times a year, every year, like it's really not that difficult. And I'm a basketball guy. Like that made a lot of sense to me. So just, yeah, like when you see, what they're going to do, you play physical with them, you make them uncomfortable. Tyreek doesn't like getting touched. Tua doesn't like getting touched. So like when you make them uncomfortable, like it really, takes them out of their game. So just one like negative thing from the game obviously was the injuries. So what do you guys think they're going to do about that? We'll start with you, Tasker. Like, do you think they maybe bring someone else in, or do you feel comfortable with the guys we have, simply in the where do you think they go from here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they bring anyone in. I think we're comfortable with the guys we have. We've shown that we have depth, a lot more depth in the past, if you ask me. I think we see Andreessen. We haven't seen him be active yet. I think we see Andreessen active. I mean, like I said earlier in the segment, Balin Spector looked great when he came in. Dorian Williams has looked good. Like I said, Demarcus Ingram has looked. I mean, I don't think we bring anyone in. I think we have the depth. The linebacker room might be like obviously is the iffy iffy spot where we might bring somebody in. But no, I'm pretty confident with the guys we have. They're not big names, obviously, but they're doing their job, and they're shutting people down.
By my account, we don't have a linebacker on the practice squad either, so I would assume they may sign somebody at least to the practice squad to be available for elevation, if nothing else. Just sheer numbers game there. They're gonna want to bolster that at least, like I said, at least on the practice squad to have a guy where if another thing happens, now they're up against it, and you want to have a guy. So maybe worth giving Deion Jones. I don't know, is he back on another roster now, or if
I
he's a
doubt
true
it.
free agent?
I don't think he is.
Maybe he's a guy that you can look at having been in your system over the preseason, even though, like, man, that wasn't very impressive necessarily what we saw in the preseason from him. But I don't
What's
know. That's
AJ
just
Klein
makes
doing?
no, no, absolutely not. But yeah, I don't think they bring necessarily someone to come on to the 53 right away, unless they feel like Deion Jones showed them enough and is familiar enough to come on and be more trustworthy than Joe Andreessen or Eddie Ilafosho. They may want to add him to the 53, but I would bet more so than not that it's a practice squad signing and then have a guy that you can elevate.
Yeah, I agree with you. We still have two inactive linebackers the past 2 weeks in Dreesen and then Eddie O, like you said. And I thought Balin Spector did a pretty good job last night. His issue hasn't been his performance when he's on the field. It's just been staying on the field. He made it through the whole game last night healthy, we think. So as long as the guys they have can stay good. And then Dorian Williams is another guy. Like, I think he's going to get better as the season goes on. Like, he got reps sparingly last year. Played okay in week 1. He had the fumble recovery. He was out of position a couple times, but looked better last night against a better offense. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think they go get anybody. I saw some people on Twitter talking about maybe going to get Devin White because he lost his starting job to N'Kobe Dean. I don't think they do that. I think they stick with what's in house, and then maybe if Bernard goes to the IR, which I would assume that he does, then maybe bring in someone to the practice squad, elevate somebody, something like that. But yeah, I feel okay with where the linebacking core is. Just no one else is allowed to get hurt. As long as they know that, I think we're good.
Yeah, so good question here that I want to highlight, and you guys can give your thoughts as well if you'd like to answer this. We have Branson Dean and Eli Anku as D tackles in the on the practice squad. Jalen Virgil on the practice squad. Those guys can probably be moved on from. I don't know necessarily that they're like highly coveted necessarily by this team, so we'll have to see what they think. Maybe I feel like they'd want to keep both of the safeties on there that they have. The O line and the tight end Zach Davidson would be. So for me, you maybe drop one of the wide receivers or one of the interior defensive linemen and add a linebacker. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I could see something like that too. You don't think they're going to get rid of either Kingsley or Cameron Klein either. The DNs, like, they've already been elevated. Both can definitely play in the league. So yeah, one of the receivers wouldn't shock me. Like, with the way this offense has looked, I don't see them elevating a receiver to have 6 on any kind of game day, just because we don't use 3 receivers that often, let alone 4 or 5. So yeah, I agree with what you said there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else really to add. Interior D line or wide receiver. I see them keeping the safeties. They're not going to get rid of them. That's all I see.
Yeah, especially given the injury history with our particular group of safeties. You really never know. Cole Bishop made a play last night, though, so that was cool.
Encouraging to see him on the field for sure.
Right.
And when you ask how many more can they withstand, I just don't think that there's really any more. Otherwise, you have to start adding a different level of player. Now you're looking right now, like I mentioned, you may be looking at, give me a practice squad guy, like we mentioned, a Deion Jones, someone who's potentially a veteran that can come in on a whim and get you out of a pinch. But if they go down another guy in that linebacker room, especially, now you're looking at, hey, I've got to have a competent starting caliber type player. With all due respect to Joe Andreessen and the rookie Eddie Olafosho, those guys are better suited for backup roles and special team roles at this point in their career. But not to say that they couldn't impress. And I know Joe Andreessen impressed a ton in his preseason work, but preseason's a lot different than the regular season, where there's game plans and just a higher level of play overall. So I don't think that. Sorry, got a weird comment in the group there. So I don't think that they're necessarily going to be able to withstand too much more, especially to the linebacking room. But they do have depth elsewhere, and I think Tasker kind of mentioned this, and I mentioned it. Maybe I don't know if it was off camera or in the beginning. How do you view the depth of this team versus previous years? I mean, because we're seeing guys like Ryan Vandemark be inactive on game days, and stuff like that. It's like, man, he's a pretty damn good offensive lineman to be inactive on game days. So, just what do you think about the depth here in Buffalo for this upcoming season? Because I think it could be near the deep, one of the deepest rosters we've had, and people just don't know the names at the top, so they assume that might not be the case. But through 2 weeks, that depth's come in handy, and it's played very, very well.
Yeah, I think this, like Tasker, you said it, like this is probably the deepest roster top to bottom that they've had in this McDermott, Josh Allen, Brandon Beane era. Not the flashy big time stars outside of Josh Allen and probably Matt Milano, who isn't even playing, which shows to the depth given what the defense did yesterday. But I think a lot of people are sleeping on the roster in general just because they haven't necessarily heard of some of the guys we got. Like Jamarcus Ingram yesterday, we touched on it. Undrafted kid out of Buffalo, paid his dues on the practice squad the last 2 years, got elevated, probably could have gone somewhere else, didn't because he wanted to stay here. Gets 2 picks against Tua, a Pro Bowl quarterback, returns 1 for a touchdown. So, yeah, I think this is probably the deepest roster that they've had. And come playoff time, when guys are banged up and other teams maybe have the flashier names, but the Bills have the depth, like, I think that could definitely help pay off.
Yeah, I think the depth is definitely way deeper than past years. I remember even with a guy like Jamarcus Ingram last year, when we had some guys go down the secondary, and I was like, oh God, Jamarcus Ingram's coming in. Now this year, I'm like, Jamarcus Ingram, like, you better be in there. Like he's proved that he can play. He's there. Same thing like yesterday. I was like, I saw Terrell Bernard walking to the locker room. Obviously, sucks. In my head, better not be a long lasting injury. Like, but then again, I was thinking, I was like, we got Balen Spector. He'll come in. I'm not worried. And that was, I think that was early on in the game, wasn't it?
Well,
Terrell
he
got
doesn't
hurt.
really have the best injury history either, though, in
Yeah,
Balen
he
Spector.
doesn't.
So
No,
that's the tough
he does
part.
not.
But yeah, as long as he can stay healthy, I'm
Yeah.
not super concerned. That's the whole thing. Like if we mentioned one more guy goes down there, and then you're in a lot different place, right?
Yeah, Nick Morrow was a guy who started 14 games for the Eagles last year and like hasn't even seen the field. So we got even more depth after this if we need it, but let's not need it.
Yeah, and I
Next guy I
wonder
want
how much he can ramp up to be in a position to come in and start the next game with 11 days or 10 days here until they play Jacksonville. I know Balen Spector's been given that role throughout the preseason and early on this season, but I wonder if a guy like Nick Morrow, that veteran presence, gets on the field a little bit more moving forward.
Yeah, you would think so because I know he didn't really have much of a camp. He had the groin, he had the hernia, but as he gets healthier with the injuries he got, like you would think that he's definitely someone who's going to be in the rotation. So next thing I want to talk about, Tasker Von Miller. Is he back?
I think he's back. I don't think there was ever a doubt that he was going to be back, in my head at least. I mean, sure, last year he didn't look the greatest, but you got to think he's coming off a terrible injury. I couldn't do it. I mean, I think last year, he just there were too many expectations for him to come back and be a 10 sack, 9 sack guy. And it's like, he just came off a bad injury. Like he wasn't going to do much. So it's like, this year through 2 weeks, he has a sack in each game, and he's applying pressure, and he's I think what was he? I think he was like the 3rd or 4th leading tackler yesterday too. So he was up there in the tackles, not even just sacks. He's getting tackles. I think he's back.
100%. Like I mentioned earlier, just a guy that looks like, the ability to get the pressures, and I think he leads the Bills, if I'm right, in QB pressures right now. So that says something. Nope, Ed Oliver might do that. Let me see. Trying to sort my stats out here. No, he does. So Von Miller with 7, according to NFL Pro stats, leads the Bills in QB pressures. So I think that's a good sign. Anytime he's leading the team in pressures, when you got Groot, who has 3 sacks already in the first week, and then Von now has 2 over the first 2 weeks. So 1 a game, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody would sign up for that, or even half a sack a game. That's still a pretty solid season. But you mentioned him, Greg Rousseau, Groot, AFC Defensive Player of the Week last week. With those 3 sacks against the Cardinals. Probably is, other than Von Miller himself, no one's probably happier that Von Miller is back to his old form than Gregory Rousseau, because he was probably going to get a lot of line shifts his way, a lot of double teams his way. But if it's 3rd down now and you got Rousseau on one side, Von Miller on the other, like, you can't double both of them because there's only so many guys that you have to block. So, breakout year coming for Groot, do you think, Lance? Do you think the Bills maybe are going to wish that they extended him before the season started, kind of like they did with Spencer Brown?
Yeah, potentially. I definitely think he's going to. Well, I hope that he can keep things going, because he went 3 sacks week 1 and was pretty, didn't have any, although, he was in the backfield there at times, but didn't have any recorded sacks in week 2. So definitely interested to see how it goes. Does he stay consistent? Does he only had 1 QB pressure this past week. But I know his game is more than just sacks, and he definitely
Yeah, he had a TFL.
Plays very well behind the line of scrimmage in the run game, and that's one thing that's interesting. The intriguing thing about the whole edge rusher and defensive end conversation that I wanted to ask about while we were talking about it. Do you notice them playing 3 defensive ends and Ed Oliver more now? And AJ Epinesa was inside on the 3rd and long yesterday. Groot's been inside, and so when Smoot's healthy, I'm sure he's going to be doing that as well. But it's interesting to see them deploy the 3 defensive end look with just Ed Oliver there in obvious passing downs where there's long yardage to gain. This was an interesting thing I saw, and just want to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I saw that too. Sorry to cut you off. There's one
No,
thing I
you're
want to add. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of when the Giants, when they were winning Super Bowls over Tom Brady, they had that like NASCAR package, they called it, where it was just all DNs. Yeah, on the sack that Vaughn had on Skylar Thompson, AJ was at the D tackle spot, and he beat the guard with a spin move too. Like, if Vaughn doesn't sack him, AJ does. So that's going to be a lot of speed for offensive linemen to have to deal with. And then they throw that out there. They're right here and try to block it. And then if you blitz a linebacker or blitz a DB off the edge, like, I think they're going to confuse offensive linemen from that. As an offensive lineman, we're easily confusable. So that's going to be tough for people to block.
Yeah, I was just gonna talk about, like, more so I think that's just confusion. I mean, obviously, their defensive ends are gonna be way faster, like you said. The spin move, Epinesa hit on a guard. I mean, it talks about the confusion we talked about earlier. That's why we were always in the backfield. We were always pressuring to even getting tackles for loss in A chain. Yeah, I think it's a good look. I think that's just Babbage doing confusing. I think he's just trying to add confusion, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure.
Last thing on the defense, we talked about a lot of good stuff, but who's somebody that you want to see step it up? I alluded to mine earlier, Daquan Jones. I know he's coming off an injury. He played a bit at the end of last year, but really, coming off a torn pec is definitely no joke. So I know he's more of a space eater, but they gave him a decent sized contract this offseason. He was someone that last year, before he got hurt, was playing at all Pro Bowl, maybe even all pro level. So if he gets back to his kind of dominance on the inside, like those interior D line problems that I was talking about, completely go away. So I would like to see some plays from him coming up, especially when we're going to be playing teams that run the ball really well. The Jaguars, the Ravens, the Texans, the Jets. Like we're gonna need him over this next 4-game stretch. So Tasker, who's someone you want to see a little bit more out of?
I would say Daquan Jones too, but I'm not going to do that. I would say probably AJ Epinesa. I remember a few plays yesterday where he had contain and he was in a good position to contain. I think it was on a few Tyreek Hill jet options, jet sweeps. Obviously, it's Tyreek Hill. It's hard to contain Tyreek Hill, but there was a few times he was there and he was just caught flat-footed, and Tyreek just beat him the outside. Granted, it's Tyreek Hill. He runs way faster than AJ Epinesa, but more so, just those were just some plays I recognized yesterday. I mean, he's been a little quiet. I'd like to see him get in the sack column. Like you said, he had that spin move yesterday, some pressures yesterday, some TFLs, but yeah, I would like to see him step it up a little bit more. He's been good, but I think he can be great.
Yeah, I apologize. I knocked out my microphone there, so I didn't hear who you said, Tasker, but I was going with Casey Toohill because he's done really not much of anything. Does have 3 tackles, 3 stops, 18 pass rushes, no pressures to date in 2 games, and I was kind of hopeful. People thought he was going to be inactive, which I was like, that's crazy. Why would he be inactive? They brought him in to play this rotational role, and especially with Dwan Smoot out, I thought that like here's his chance. He's been good when he's been a rotational piece and not having to be leaned upon to be a mainstay in the lineup, and just hasn't been able to generate anything yet. It's week 2. It's fine. I mean, he came off injury. He didn't play a lot in the preseason, so it's still definitely early. But at this point, I think that the concern with this defense moving forward is going to be pressuring the quarterback, and Casey Toohill is brought here to do that thing, and he's not done it yet, and we have to see that. So that's who I'm going to say needs to step up.
Yeah, I think, like you said, with the quarterbacks we got coming up, you have to get pressure with 4. If you blitz good quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, like even CJ Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, obviously, Trevor Lawrence to an extent, like they're going to pick you apart. You're not covering with the same number of guys, and really good quarterbacks don't even like feel that pressure. So yeah, they're going to have to get pressure with 4 and be able to cover with 7. So yeah, definitely agree with you there. And he's a guy that when Dwayne Smoot's healthy and Javon Solomon's healthy, maybe he is one of the inactives unless he shows us something while he
Right.
while he still has a leash. Yeah. So you guys got anything else on the defense before we throw it to Lance for his 1 minute?
No, my 1 minute will in fact be on just that. All right, so this week I want to talk about the back 7. We talked a little bit about the injuries piling up in the linebacker room and with Teron Johnson as the nickel corner. So how are y'all feeling about the back 7, the secondary and the linebacking core moving forward? Are you concerned or are you encouraged? I'm encouraged because I've seen guys go out and I've seen guys step up. I just watched Rasul Douglas, Christian Benford, Damar Hamlin, Taylor Rapp, and everyone else, Dorian Williams, with Balin Spector and Cam Lewis, absolutely dominate the Miami Dolphins offense. With that speed and those 3 weapons they have on that team, I am nothing but encouraged about this back 7 moving forward. So I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Let us know in the comments down below. And we'll get Scott and Tasker in here as well to give us your thoughts. Guys, what do you think? We did talk about it a little bit, but we didn't necessarily talk about how Benford and Douglas were able to shut down Tyreek and Waddle and Devin Achane. They didn't have many big plays. Tyreek Hill, I think his longest play against the Bills to date is still, as a member of the Dolphins, maybe is still 23 yards. So overall, give us your thoughts on the secondary, linebackers, and are you encouraged or are you still concerned because of those three top dogs missing time?
You take it, Tasker.
No, I mean, I'm not concerned. Like you said, we shut down Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Those are two number ones on any team. I mean, they have two number one wide receivers. Um, I mean, you had the Benford pick. Obviously, that was just an overthrown ball where I think it was Robbie Chosen just ran the wrong route or didn't keep going. He shut it down. Tua thought he was going to keep going. Anyway, either way, it's a pick. It's an interception. I mean, we shut them down. I mean, they couldn't get Tyreek Hill going, so they had to start going to the jet sweeps. I think he had more rushes than he did receptions at one point. And that's if you count obviously the little touch pass counts as a pass, but that's really just a little jet sweep. But
Everybody playing NCAA football knows that.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I thought it looked great. It was a good sign. Very good sign actually to shut down at least one top 5, and then Jalen Waddle's probably top 20, top 30 guys. So I mean, we're shutting down some good guys, so it's a good sign.
Yeah, and to take it back even a week further, Marvin Harrison Jr. Everybody was talking about him and he's going to cook the secondary. And what do you have, one catch for like 8 yards or something like that? And everybody who sees the screen, 4 yards, not even giving too much credit. Everybody who sees the screenshot of him wide open down the field in that last drive, if you actually watch the film break down that play, there was never a chance he was getting that ball. Like, it was not in the read. He was going to throw it somewhere else. Cam Lewis jumped it. Then he rolled. Like, it really wasn't bad coverage. Like, there was never a chance he was getting the ball. So you can screenshots of a football game never tell the actual story, and the people who think that they do like sometimes annoy me, but whatever. Yeah, but no, I'm definitely encouraged by it. And maybe because, like you said, the top guys aren't there. Like, this defense is only going to get better as these depth guys get more reps, get more comfortable, get their feet wet, like you said. And then it's only going to even more better when some of those top guys come back, because everybody, Milano, I know a little bit of a question mark, but like, everybody is coming back at some point. And then just think about the depth they're going to have then with guys who have started 10 games now. Like, they can really kind of ease some people back in, like, not going to be in a position where like they have to rush guys back and make them go full go. Like, they can ease guys back in. So yeah, definitely excited. Like, if you would have asked me at halftime of the Cardinals game how I felt about the back seven, I probably would have yelled at you. But they settle in, kind of like the offense. I think you're just going to keep getting better as the season goes on there. So, all right, why don't we talk about the offense, unless you guys got anything else?
Good to go, brother.
Sweet. Josh Allen is still Josh Allen, and anybody who thought that he wouldn't be, I know it's only 2 games, but definitely eating their words a little bit. Lance, what are some things that Josh has done so far this year that, make you feel comfortable, make you think that as long as the Bills have Josh Allen, they're a Super Bowl contender? So what have you seen from him so far that's kind of, cemented that?
Yeah, being willing to take the plays that are available to him so far. Has held the ball here and there and kept the plays alive. That's his thing. I mean, that's just going to be part of his game. But also being able to get the ball out of his hand. That pass to James Cook there for the touchdown was just a really nice job of, not throwing it into the defender. Sometimes he'll roll around and end up throwing it into he did later in the game. He was rolling to his right and kind of threw it into the defender's hands, kind of, which may be by design to just say, okay, let's get this play over with. But, he could always just throw it out of bounds instead of doing that. But he's creative in that manner, and I think that he's shown a little bit more willingness to kind of take that short, easy completion. And the reason why I say that is because every receiver has a really high completion percentage so far, for the most part, and these guys are getting really high percentage plays to them. So it's been kind of a lot of these quicker plays where they're designed to be open early, and Allen gets the ball out to him. Obviously Coleman, and we've seen some MVS shots. We've seen some shots, but for the most part, a lot of the passes that have been caught so far are, of the quick nature, where they're open, they're designed open, and it's more of an easy easy play. It's not fitting it into a bunch of tight windows and trying to make something out of nothing.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the biggest thing that stands out is he's putting the ball where only his receivers can catch it. Not, I mean, like everybody talks about, oh, he has an interception problem. No, he doesn't. He's putting the ball where only his receivers can catch it. There's the one like you mentioned, Scott, earlier. He threw to Ty Johnson. Threw it low, threw it to Ty Johnson, who was coming back. There was no chance anybody else was catching the ball unless it was Ty Johnson. Same thing with week one, Keon Coleman down the sideline. Obviously made a fantastic catch. But even then, and that was a ball where only Keon's catching it. And if he doesn't catch it, get knocked down. You're not seeing any of these stupid plays that he used to do last year. I know there was the week one last year Jets game. He threw like 3 interceptions and 2 of them were like just overshot balls where it looked like the DB was the receiver. Like Lance said, where we get a lot more designed routes where the guy's gonna be wide open and he doesn't have to fit it through. He doesn't have to throw it like he's trying to fit through a needle of a window. I think there was one yesterday. I forget who it was to, but there was a very tight window. He
The
fit
one
it.
to Shakir where
Yeah,
Boyer hit him.
yeah, it was that one. Yeah, there was like 4 guys around. I think 4 Dolphins guys, and so I mean, he's still obviously he's gonna make those throws, but as long as he doesn't have to, I mean, yeah, he's looking great.
Yeah, I think he's doing a great job of playing within the system. A lot of times, like you mentioned that Jets game last year, he'll try to win the game on one play. Like he'll take a shot into triple coverage because he knows he can make the throw, and he's right. He can make the throw, but should you make the throw is a very different story. And so far this year, he's taken what's there. Like he's checking the ball down. We're getting those quick hitters. Like there's a lot of like um, Ken Dorsey, the OC before Joe Brady, was good at drawing up deep plays down the field. He was good at drawing up quick plays, but he didn't really have a lot of those like mid-level easy throws for Josh. And that's almost all that Joe Brady has. Like they're quick hitters, they're easy throws for him. So he's staying within the system. He's not trying to, he's not trying to win the game on one play, like I just said. Like I think he's doing a really good job of playing the way that Joe Brady wants him to play. And then every once in a while, he has to go be Josh Allen. He has to hurdle Budda Baker. He has to roll to the sideline and throw back across his body to Ty Johnson. But he's picking his spots to do that rather than doing it too frequently, which has definitely gotten him trouble in the past.
Yeah, and he has 0 interceptions right now. His tight window percentage, according to NFL Pro, was 17.4 against the Cardinals, and then 10.5 against Miami. So definitely dropped from week 1 to week 2, having thrown the ball less and having that more of a, like I said, simplified passing game where guys are coming open fairly early. With that said, though, his time to throw was a little bit longer against Miami, so it doesn't necessarily equate to all quicker passes. He definitely spent some time rolling out and extending plays before he got the ball out. And that Ty Johnson play was one of them that was really good. I can't really believe that Ty Johnson didn't score on that. And I was talking to Dwayne Steinell, who had just joined Built in Buffalo with 2 goalies, 1 mic. We were down in Lancaster at the watch party here, and I was just like, man, I can't believe he let the guy tackle him at the 1 and couldn't put it in. But it is what it is, and James Cook was the benefit of that play. But yeah, it seems like Allen's super comfortable. It seems like this offense is fairly easy for him.
You saw who was in coverage on that throw to Ty Johnson too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that would be one Jalen Ramsey.
Oh, Ramsey was okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was I thought he was covered by a backer actually there, but maybe I was thinking of the wrong play.
Yeah, no, it was Jalen. Well, Jalen Ramsey made the tackle anyway. He was the guy who covered him once he came into his zone. Just always nice to take shots at him. James Cook, we mentioned, unreal game yesterday. Was solid in week 1, 2. Do you think his role is going to stay this big as the season goes on? Ray Davis has looked really good as well, like kind of a bit of like a 2-headed monster there out of the backfield. Reminds me of, I'm dating myself a little bit, of Wendell White, Reggie Bush at USC, Thunder, Lightning, James Cook, a little bit quicker, probably catches the ball a bit more. Ray Davis, a bit more of that power back inside. But James Cook, awesome game yesterday. Lance, what'd you see from him, and then the offensive line as well? Springing him on all those runs. Like, what have you seen from James Cook so far, and do you think he keeps this up?
Yeah, good ability to shake some guys at the line of scrimmage at times. The offensive line has been hit or miss exactly with opening up holes, and that more is because of predictability of play call, in my opinion. I feel like when the team knows a run's coming and you still run it, it's very difficult to have success in that. But they've tried anyway for whatever reason and stuck to their guns to run the ball. So there's a few things that I chalk up to just having been calling a predictable play there, and other times where he's slipped out. I talked about a little bit earlier that 49-yard touchdown run, and his ability to squeeze through there and get a nice hole from the line once it developed and then break away. So a very nice game for James Cook. Obviously showed you what he can do in all facets of rushing and receiving. And I'm encouraged. I think I mentioned in my clip last week that I see him kind of being and having, I don't know if it's going to be necessarily considered a breakout year given his year last year, but I think he's definitely going to have a year where he's a top dog. Right now, he's got about 149 yards through 2 games on 30 carries. Um, you know, Joe Mixon's got more than that in 1 game, but so he's not necessarily blowing people out of the water in that regard. But that's because they don't need to use him fully. They don't need to give him 30 carries in a game like some of these other guys are getting. So I think he's going to be, going to be used similar to this this way. He had to get 19 carries in week 1 because they trusted him the most. And like I said, they were trying to kind of get their legs underneath them and really just grind that game out. And then only 11 touches last night or 11 attempts rushing, excuse me, last night because they were able to get more people involved. They had more of Ty Johnson, more of Ray Davis this week than they did last. Ray Davis went from 3 attempts to 9. Ty Johnson actually went down. He had 2 in week 1 and only 1 this week. So you're already seeing Ray Davis creep up from week 1 to week 2. So I think that balance, 11 rushes to 9 rushes, continues, and then also Josh Allen, obviously his rushes going from 9 to 2 is going to help Ray Davis and Ty Johnson have more of that load as well.
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily change anything. It's not like they were force feeding James Cook the ball. He had, like Lance said, he had 11 touches, or not touches, but attempts. Um, he just, I mean, with those 11 touches, he just did really, really well. And then Ray Davis came in there and again did really, really well. I mean, he came in and I think in the middle of the game, I remember he had 2 carries in a row of 10 plus, something like that. And then they gave it to him again. He lost one. I think that they were just trying to give it to the hot hand. But yeah, I mean, we have 3 capable backs of just, I mean, rotating them in and out. And I mean, James Cook did what he did with 11 touches. I think 78 yards, the
Yep.
2 rushing touchdowns, the receiving touchdown to start the game. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they change anything where they give him. I mean, if anything, I think they give him the ball more times to run the ball, just because of how good he looked.
It's not often you have a rushing EPA of a positive number. James Cook was plus 2.2 last night in rush EPA, so that's a good tell that yesterday was very effective for him.
Yeah, and the Bills only ran 45 offensive plays yesterday. Like, it was a lot of garbage time in there too. So they only really ran like a half of real offense. So yeah, a lot of the guys maybe had different touch numbers and what they'll get going forward. But the game was in hand. The Dolphins were on the field a lot more than the Bills. It felt like just their drives were taking longer, so they didn't really get the opportunity to I think get some of those numbers up. So yeah, definitely James Cook's going to have a big role in this offense. And I don't think we've said it yet, but thank you everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, all the tricks that help us get our numbers up. So appreciate everybody out there and appreciate everybody in the comments. It's really fun interacting with you guys. And if you all don't tell me that we're wrong, I'm just going to assume that we're right on everything we say. So please feel free to jump in there and get involved, and we'll show the ones that we've been showing.
Yeah, what do you think of this one here? Heard on the game that they were considering outlawing the tush push. I know they already modified it, right? They already modified it such that the runner or the pusher now has to line up 1 yard behind the quarterback, right? So you can't be immediately behind the guy. And we'll see how that goes. They're going to do studies and have analytics for player safety and injuries on it and things like that to see, what cause and effect might be and tweak it here and there. I don't see it being outlawed right away, but what do you think?
I think maybe they like you said, they already modified it. I think they might modify even more to even say like you can't have anybody pushing from the back. I know like back in the day, the old QB sneak used to literally just be quarterback takes the ball and runs up the gut like right behind the center. That's how I think it should be. In my opinion, the tush push that's not football. It's fourth
So
and
that
1.
would be outlawing the tush push then.
Yeah,
Completely.
yeah. Basically, like
Not
not
the QB
letting
sneak, but the tush push itself
exactly.
would in your mind go away.
Exactly, yeah. I think they should. In my opinion, it's not football. It's not fun to watch. It's not fun to watch a defense, say it's 3rd and 1, they stuff them, and it's all of a sudden 4th and inches, and they do it's pretty much impossible to stop the tush push. It's kind of, in my opinion, it's not football. So I think they should get rid of it and make them run an actual play on 4th and inches, make them hand it to the running back, make them QB sneak it. So yeah, I think they should get rid of it.
Yeah, they definitely talked about it in the offseason, something they looked into, and it's illegal to pull a runner in the NFL. Like, it wouldn't shock me if they changed it and made it illegal to push a runner. I don't know if they would do it everywhere because pushing the pile is definitely a part of the game. But yeah, maybe something along the lines of like you can't push the initial person to take the snap or something like that. Kind of how like the only person who can throw the ball away is the person who initially takes the snap. So maybe something like that, to like change it so you can't just like stand behind your quarterback and push him. Because yeah, it definitely wasn't the most exciting last season when every time the Eagles got to like 4th and 1 or inside, you're like, well, okay, they're converting this. So, yeah, definitely something that'll be looked at now that that's become such a prevalent play. But through 2 weeks, I think we've seen this Bills offense that everybody eats and the unselfishness is very much real. Week 1, Keon Coleman led the team in yards. Week 2, he only had 1 target, and it was kind of in garbage time. But he still played the most snaps both weeks, which I thought was interesting. So, like, Khalil Shakir was consistent both weeks. The tight ends really haven't gotten that much involved yet. Matt Collins is more involved in week 1. Curtis Samuel still hasn't been that much involved at all. So I don't think they were kidding when they said, like, they really don't know who's going to lead the team in yards, catches, targets every week. So do you guys think that's sustainable? Tasker, I'll start with you. Do you think it's sustainable just to have not really necessarily knowing who is gonna be the guy every week, and can they keep having a different guy? And it's been selflessness so far, but will that work the whole year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sustainable. I don't think you necessarily need like a guy. I mean, if you look at the past few years with Stephon Diggs was the guy, that's almost sometimes more detrimental to an offense when you have one like the guy and then the rest are just like kind of there. Because then the defense, it's easy, in my opinion, easy to call a defense when you can just, hey, go out there and double team Stephon Diggs. But this year I mean, we have four guys that are capable: Matt Collins, Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. I mean, everybody can go out there and be the guy in a way. Like, so I do think it's sustainable. I think it just depends on the week, who's open, who's doing well. Khalil Shakir was the guy yesterday. He caught 5. He had 5 targets, caught all 5 of them. Even Dalton Kincaid had 4 targets, caught all 4 of them. So yeah, I think it's sustainable.
We'll see. I mean, I'm waiting to see until they get into a dogfight when they're forced into more of a pass-heavy scheme, when they're forced out of being able to be predictable and run the ball. You saw that they had success against Arizona when they threw the ball more than when they were running the ball, I believe. So I think that the game against Arizona was a little bit of a highlight to show when you're forcing Josh Allen to throw the ball and this offense that it can work and it will work, albeit week one against maybe a lackluster Arizona defense. I still think that the Bills offense can make this everyone eats work, but I still think you have Shakir and Kincaid as like your top dogs, and I'm really surprised that that Kincaid and Knox have been so quiet to start this year. I think that I was hammering the anytime touchdowns and the first touchdowns this week, thinking Knox and Kincaid could both score. To be honest with you, and they went James Cook, and that is what it is. Kincaid did not score a lot last year, and we'll see how that moves through the season and see if he can find the end zone a little bit more this season. But I'm definitely surprised that there's 0 touchdowns from our tight ends so far. Kincaid is 6 targets with 5 catches for 44 yards on the season combined. Dawson Knox doesn't have much of anything. He has just what he got against Arizona. Wasn't targeted at all yesterday. So 2 targets, 1 catch for 23 yards for Knox on the season. Again, still early. They're going to continue to play game by game, and that's the fun. It's the fun thing, but it's kind of uncertainty for fans. I can understand gives you a little bit of a worry because you don't know exactly what you're getting out of your team from week to week. But I like that because, like I say, the more unpredictable this offense can be, the better they're going to be. And we've been a little bit predictable through the first couple of weeks on just handing the ball off in certain situations and stuff like that. And as the season wears on, and as we get into games against better teams, I think you're going to see that change, and you're going to see where they're going to deploy more of the unpredictable offense where they can get it to anybody at any time on any play, and we'll see how effective that can be, obviously. But I have at least good faith in this coaching staff and the players that we have to execute that.
Yeah, if you told me that after week 2, the tight ends wouldn't even have 100 yards combined, but they would have scored 34 and 31 points respectively, I would have been very confused just because how often those guys are on the field. Kincaid was, everybody thought, going to be the number 1 option. But I think that's, credit to Josh for staying within the system, because the Cardinals were legitimately triple teaming Dalton Kincaid on some plays, and Josh just went to the other guy who was open. I think it confused him a little bit on the strip sack play because he was looking for Kincaid. He was doubled. Curtis Samuel was open on little 15-yard stop. So after he figured out what they were going to do, he's just like, okay, I'm not even really going to look Dalton's way. I'm just going to throw it to the open guy. And I think that's worked so far. And Kincaid is too good to not break loose and turn it up. But yeah, so far they haven't needed him to, which is, I think, another encouraging sign for this offense. So other potentially encouraging signs, some rookies have gotten pretty involved. Keon Coleman, like I said, had the most snaps played by a receiver in week 1 and week 2. Had a really nice contested catch down the sideline against the Cardinals to help on the drive that led to the touchdown that put him up 10. Didn't do too much yesterday, but Ray Davis has looked solid. Hasn't gotten a ton of burn yet, but what he's done, he's definitely taken advantage of. On the defensive side, we'll throw them into. Dwayne Carter's played a bit. Bishop obviously was hurt, getting back into the swing of things. But Tasker, what are some things you've seen from the rookies so far that excite you? What do you think about them? What do you like?
Obviously, I touched on the Keon catch down the sideline. So did you just now. That was obviously very exciting. Loved his game 1 against the Cardinals. Would have liked to see him do something yesterday, but like I said before, we didn't need him. Ray Davis, I think he's been a very quiet, bright spot in the offense. He comes in there and he gets 6 to 10 yards. I feel like every time he touches the ball. I feel like whether it's catching in the backfield, if he's running a route, if he gets a handoff, I feel like every single time he touches the ball, he's gaining positive yards. And then on the defensive side, like you mentioned earlier, Cole Bishop had that nice pass breakup late in the game. Went up and swatted away one-handed. Dwayne Carter's been quiet, but he's been stuff in the middle. So I mean, we've got some good rookies that are they're out there playing ball and they're looking good.
I'm definitely interested in the Ray David's usage increase from week 1 to week 2 and see how that continues to progress. One of the things about his reception in week 1 that we saw was exactly what we talked about from, Josh Allen, um, taking the easy thing. He definitely could have held the ball longer, waited for guys to get open. He turns and throws to Ray Davis in the flat and doesn't let things get hung up on it. And that's a good sign for the offense as a whole, and obviously Ray Davis as a whole. Um, didn't love the fact that Keon Coleman was blanked yesterday, but I understand it. Totally can understand that the Miami corners are decent, and they didn't find a way to get him the ball in that game. So man, that's what it is. But definitely don't love seeing one target for 0 receptions and 0 yards from the rookie right away. But we kind of thought, I think going in all along, I've been saying, for Keon, it's going to be after the bye week going into that San Francisco game where I really think he's going to have a lot of film, a lot of notes on a lot of different personnel, and he's going to be able to then kind of take it up a notch from there.
Yeah, I like that he's been on the field so much. Like, didn't have any catches yesterday, but I think he was on the field for 93% of the offensive snaps. Similar number in week 1. So I like that they're getting him out there. He's getting more comfortable. So I think his role is gonna grow as the season goes on, as he and Josh build up more chemistry. And Josh clearly trusts him. He threw him with that ball on the sideline in one-on-one coverage. He was not open by any means. So Josh isn't afraid to throw it up to him, which is awesome. And Josh even said after it was the kind of guy that he's been missing. Like, didn't have that guy that he could throw a ball to like that when the DB's even with you, or even, blanketing you even. He just kind of throws it up back shoulder. Kiana just catches it, no problem. So before we wrap it up, you guys got
Just one
anything
thing
else? Any
on
final
Dwayne
thoughts?
Carter, seemingly Austin Johnson and guys are taking, like when I mentioned that 3 defensive end look on the front, that doesn't necessarily bode well in my opinion. He went from 7 snaps week 1 to 25, I believe, in week 2. So definitely increase from 1 to 2, and hopefully that's just a McDermott thing where he's gonna get the rookies along at his own pace. Cole Bishop obviously inactive week 1 and coming along at his own pace as well. So um, these guys are developmental in a time where we may need to call on them sooner than later if if the injury bug keeps biting or something like that. You may need to rely on these guys a little bit more, and we'll see how good they are at that point. So like Scott said before, if you haven't already done so, please like and share. Head on over to YouTube, if you will, and subscribe to the Built in Buffalo YouTube page. We'd greatly appreciate it as we try to grow that platform. Um, Obviously, thankful for the 120 plus thousand followers on Facebook. So keep supporting there. We really appreciate it. And over on X, we appreciate it there as well. We would love you to come to Facebook or YouTube if you're on X, because we want to get into the conversation with you, and we cannot see your comments live when you're on Twitter or X. So please come over to YouTube or over to Facebook and give us a comment and let us know that what your thoughts are. We love interacting with everyone here. And I guess what we'll end with here is Tasker, we'll start with you. What are you going to end up doing on Sunday with no Bills game?
Just watching some football, not having to worry about if the Bills lose. Watching some of these other matchups, the Jets, Patriots. I'd like to see if they keep winning. The whole division was the Jets lost, but New England won. See what if the Jets can bounce back and if Aaron Rodgers can be who he used to be. Other than that, watching some rookies, seeing what they're made of. But yeah, just watching some stress-free football.
Yeah, stress-free Sunday is going to be nice, especially after a win. So, yeah, I'm excited to chill. Might make my way over to the Ravens game. We'll see. because the Bills aren't playing, might as well take advantage of that. Go watch that. But other than that, I'm excited for the Chiefs-Bengals game, and it's at 4:00. Excited to see what Joe Burrow looks like bouncing back, and then the Chiefs are always fun to watch as much as I dislike them. So hopefully that's a good one. And then we got a big college slate coming up tomorrow. I'm 2-0 with my college picks that I've given out on this show, so I'll try to go 3-0. Like Alabama tomorrow, -16 at Wisconsin. Bama looked not great for 3 quarters against USF last weekend. I think if they blew them out handily, they won 41-16, but I think if it was a more convincing 41-16, that line is probably closer to 20-21. Getting them under 17 points, I think, is big. So Bama tomorrow at Wisconsin, -16. That's my pick of the weekend.
Amazing. My 6th wedding anniversary is Sunday, so I don't know how much football I'm going to watch. I'm going to be spending some time with the wife and hopefully get some good food. We're going to spend some time in a salt cave somewhere, so that'll be a little R&R. My mom's coming out tomorrow, so I'll be entertaining and doing that kind of thing. So it's a good family weekend. I honestly couldn't be a luckier person, obviously, to be married to my wife, and then also to have Bills game be on a Thursday when my anniversary is on that Sunday of week 2 in the NFL season. So thank you, football gods, for this weekend. I really appreciate that. And yeah, if there's nothing else, guys, be safe out there, and we'll catch you back here next week again at 8 p.m. on Triple Coverage here on the Built-in Buffalo Network. And as always,